This video is going to go over our top 10 best loadouts for Warzone Season 2 after the Reloaded update. We've had a few updates since then as well, which has adjusted certain things, and in this video we're going to be going over what the best loadouts are. If you do enjoy content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we try to reach our goal of 50k subscribers. Click that link in the description down below and subscribe to our second channel, and we're going to get through these very quickly. So at number 10 we do have what I think is one of the best LMGs inside Warzone at the moment, which is the M91 LMG. This is actually the fastest killing LMG in the game, especially with that new 300 HP that we have inside Warzone. The build is what you see here, which is the overall meta build for this gun. We all know what the builds are like for Modern Warfare weapons when it comes to long range options: mono suppressor, commando foregrip, the longest barrel, tac laser, and the VLK optic. We don't really need a mag for this because it is an LMG, so it's definitely a solid build overall. And this is kind of my tempered slash ghost class, so I do pair it mainly with the AMP. I do think the AMP is a solid secondary weapon, even still with that 300 HP. Again, this is the build that I talk about pretty much all the time, so nothing really much has changed with this build overall, and I still highly recommend it as a secondary weapon. Next up at number 9 we have again another tempered slash ghost class. So again, you can change the perks out to whatever you want with the secondary, but we do have the BREN here. Now the BREN surprisingly never actually got nerfed with the Season 2 Reloaded update or with any other updates that came out after that. And the build for this gun has stayed pretty much the same, even though that Royal barrel got nerfed in terms of still giving you a damage drop off now, but it does still control the recoil the best out of all the other barrels. Plus it has still no recoil overall with this weapon, so it's going to be super easy to use at longer ranges. The TTK is no longer like amazing now because of that 300 HP, but because you're going to be landing every single shot, the gun is still going to feel really good. So like I said, the build hasn't really changed too much. You want to make sure you are using the 40 round Sakura mags. You also want to make sure you're using tight grip as well to get the best possible recoil control, and the Hawkinson stock is usually the best, and overall it's just a solid gun to use. Then we also do have it paired, like I said, with the Automaton pistol. This is probably the second best secondary weapon if you're not obviously picking up an overkill class. So the Automaton pistol build is pretty much not changed either, so you do want to use the agency suppressor for the vertical recoil control, because I do think you need it on a burst fire weapon like this. Task Force barrel, fast mags, serpent wrap, and you can swap out the Tiger Sheen spotlight for an optic if you prefer to do that. At number 8, I do think we have a couple of underrated weapons at the moment. First of all, we do have the QBZ. I think the QBZ is very underrated, especially right now with how the TTKs are sitting at the moment. This gun is super low recoil and it has better TTKs than the Cold War AK-47, and even some of the other weapons that you would expect to kill faster than this weapon at long range. So you're actually getting a really solid ranged weapon with the QBZ, and it's super low recoil. We all know what the meta build is for a long range weapon with a Cold War gun, so you want to make sure you're using that Task Force barrel, agency suppressor, field agent grip. But like I said, overall it's a solid weapon. We are pairing it with the Vanguard PPSH, and this is actually one of the fastest killing SMGs in the game. Now I didn't really put it in the top 5 SMG video because it's mainly just a hipfire build, so you're not really going to be able to aim down sights with this. So it's not really much of a sniper support gun, it's more of just a hipfire gun if you are going to pair it with something like the QBZ that you can use in those medium to long ranges. You want to make sure you are using the hipfire barrel on this. The remove stock is going to help out an absolute ton. Fleet is going to give you that faster movement speed, so make sure you use that as well. Fabric grip will also help with the aim down sight and sprint to fire. I like the pistol grip, but you can also use the carbon 4 grip if you need a little bit more recoil control, and everything else is pretty much exactly the same as before. At number 7 we have another really underrated class. Now obviously everyone knows about the AS44 and its TTK potential. We've made tons of videos on this gun going over how fast it kills in this game, and of course that's not really changed. It's still one of the fastest killing close and long range guns in the game. However, it still doesn't have very good recoil control, so you need to make sure you are using it as either a sniper support or an SMG, and this is the build that you have to be using. So recoil booster, then the Falcon barrel for the better fire rate. The 60 round mags is the best mags to use for the best TTK. Carbon 4 grip because you will need it for the recoil control. Polymer grip because you will need it for the recoil control. Gung Ho on hand to be used because you actually get a faster ADS time with on hand, and jgod's done testing on this to show that. Remove stock, which is going to give you the hip fire accuracy, and then any optic you like. When it comes to the sniper rifle that we're actually pairing this with, we're pairing it with the Vanguard Car 98, which I do believe is the best Vanguard sniper in the game right now. They also fixed the flinch resistance on these snipers. They also made the ADS a little bit quicker, and overall they are slowly getting the Vanguard snipers up to scratch with the rest of the snipers in this game. So for the build, you want to use the Scout Silencer because it's not going to con your ADS. This barrel right here, because it's going to give you the best possible bullet velocity. You can also use the one that helps with the upper extremities damage as well. Both are solid options when it comes to the barrel. I would personally go for the upper extremities damage. Then I like to use the 366 optic to give a faster ADS time, and everything else is pretty standard here. You don't really want to use any other magazine because it's not really going to help with the TTK of this weapon anyway. Next, we're moving on to what I believe to be the meta sniper classes, and here we have the Car 98K, which build hasn't really changed too much since the start of Warzone. So mono suppressor, longest barrel, tac laser, sniper scope, and instead we're using the focus perk to get the better flinch resistance because we do need it now on this Car 98K build. And then we are pairing it with what I believe to be the best sniper support weapon in the entire game, which is the Cold War PPSH with the following build that you see right on screen just now. It's going to give you the Task Force barrel, the GRU suppressor, bruiser grip for the better movement speeds, serpent wrap, and the 71 round drums. The iron sights are very clean on this gun to even use in those medium ranges, and the bullet velocity is very good as well. Overall, a very solid weapon with TTKs being very consistent across the board. But you can also mix and match this with our number 5 loadout, which is another sniper class, the Swiss. Now the Swiss, because of the buff to the flinch resistance on the airborne elastic wrap, is now going to be a super solid option for Warzone, especially after they nerfed the flinch resistance on certain weapons and then they kind of buffed it again. So this is going to be probably once again one of the best snipers to use. So the build, like I said, hasn't really changed, besides we're using the airborne elastic instead of the serpent wrap, but we are pairing this with what I believe to be probably the second best sniper support option, which is the Cold War FFAR. And this is a solid gun. The TTKs are very consistent across the board with this gun, and it's got pretty fast TTKs at close range. Now you do want to make sure you're building this gun for better ADS speeds, because that is where this gun actually falls off, because the ADS they nerfed way back in the day, and now it's got kind of slow ADSs. So that's why we're using the regular suppressor, because it gives you better ADS times. And we're also using the serpent wrap for the better ADS times. Now, make sure you use the standard 50 round mags, because it's not going to con the ADS nearly as much as the fast mags. And then everything else is just built to give this better movement speeds to make it feel more snappier, a bit more like an SMG. Next, we're moving on into our AR SMG combos, and these are my favorite kind of loadouts, to be perfectly honest. I'm not a huge sniper fan, I'm not a huge shotgun fan, but I do like my assault rifles and SMGs, and I think most people do as well. So if you are enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe as we're trying to reach that goal of 50k. So at number 4, we do have the Cold War AK-47, and we also have the OTS-9. Now in terms of the builds, they haven't really changed at all. Now maybe you would want to put on the 60 round mags instead of the 45 round mags because of that increase in health, but this gun still feels pretty good. Now even though I didn't put it in the top 6 long range rifles video, I gave it a bit of a try now to see how the gun actually feels in game with that health value. And if you do land a couple of headshots, which I really recommend doing now because that is the only way you're going to reduce that TTK, then the Cold War AK is a solid option to use still. So then the OTS, and we've already went over this in a previous video, that this is actually one of the fastest killing SMGs in the game now, and the fact that everyone will probably have this unlocked already and leveled up and ready to go will make a lot of players happy. The fact that this is still one of the best SMGs in the game. Also the movement speeds on the OTS with this specific build is very good. So at number 3, we have the C58 and the MP40. Now, the MP40 I'll get onto in just a moment because the build has changed for that. But when it comes to the C58, the only kind of thing I would change with this build right here, which is the standard meta build for Cold War weapons, is the 45 rounds for the 55 rounds. And that's only if you need it. Even with that 300 HP, I still think 45 rounds is more than enough, but again, that's going to come down to personal preference. But this gun is pretty much a well-rounded assault rifle that's inside Warzone at the moment. TTKs are solid for close range and long range, but on top of that, you actually get good recoil control with this gun as well. I recommend it definitely over the XM4 and the Vargo now, so I do think if you're looking for something that's a bit more balanced in terms of recoil control, then the C58 is going to be a solid option. Then we were looking at the MP40. The build has changed for this gun. The reason why we've changed the build is so you can get an even faster TTK, even with that 300 HP. So you actually want to use the short barrel, and this is going to give you more limb damage and it's going to extend the damage range. So the extra limb damage will help you just get more consistent TTKs across the board. That's usually what the hollow points round used to do, but now that they actually con your damage range, there's no real need to use it. Recoil booster for the faster fire rate, which means a faster TTK, carbon foregrip, or you can even use the pistol grip or the skeletal grip as well. Both are solid options. At number 2, we have the AMAX and the Armaguerra SMG, which is the new SMG added into Warzone. Now, when it comes to the AMAX, it's a standard build we're used to. Now, this is the second fastest killing assault rifle at long range that's actually viable. So I definitely recommend trying out the AMAX if you haven't tried it out since any of the Season 2 updates. It's definitely a solid gun to use now, especially with that 300 HP. And if you want to check out all the TTK stats, I'll leave a link to our previous videos at the end of this one. But just believe me, the AMAX is a solid option right now, and it's got good recoil control if you know how to manage it. Then we've got the Armaguerra as well, which is an actual solid SMG to use as sniper support or as a close range SMG, because it does have the TTK potential there as well, and it's really low recoil, so you're going to be able to land all of your shots anyway, so it's definitely a good option. So you want to use the recoil booster, skeletal underbarrel, you could choose any underbarrel you like, 60 round mags and vital as well, because it does give you that extra upper torso damage. You want to use lengthen because hollow point and incendiary got nerfed very hard. And then the fabric grip and everything else is pretty standard for an SMG anyway. So people have mentioned that the Russian short mags do give you a faster TTK, which is true. However, you don't want to take a mag that's too small and you're running out of the mag way too quickly. So make sure you are using the 60 round mags paired with vital. That's the best way to use this SMG. And last but not least, at number 1, we have the FARA paired with the Owen gun. Now, this is probably going to be the best loadout inside Warzone right now. If you're not trying out this loadout, then you're definitely missing out, because the FARA is the fastest killing viable long range assault rifle in the game. Not only to mention the fact that it's got super low recoil anyway, it's one of the most easiest to control assault rifles inside Warzone at the moment, and it kills super quick, and the TTK is very consistent over range, so whatever kind of TTK you get at close range, it's going to be very similar at long range as well. So the FARA is a solid gun to use, and I think it's probably going to be most people's favorite at the moment. The build again is not really changed, but I've been talking about the FARA for such a long time now anyway. When it comes to the Owen gun build again hasn't really changed. So you do want to use the recoil booster, you do want to use the rapid barrel, you do want to use the carbon foregrip, you want to use the 72 round mags. These kind of attachments are an absolute must on this gun, and then everything else is kind of personal preference. But I do think the fabric grip you do need, because you do want that faster ADS and sprint to fire times. And fleet is also going to help a lot when it comes to movement speeds. But overall, this has got to be the best SMG in the game right now. So there we have it. Those are the top 10 loadouts that you should be using inside Warzone right now. Now, this may change in the future once we learn a bit more about the meta and the changes that have happened, and if there's any silent nerfs and buffs happened as well. But that is what we know so far about this game, and hopefully it gives you some kind of direction on what guns to use. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we try to reach our goal of 50k. Also, click that link in the description and subscribe to our second channel, and thank you very much for watching.